had asked to arbitrate between the government and the doctors to help them broker a deal that will see them end their strike that has hit day 71 today. Francis Atwoli is speaking to us now live from his home in Kajiado. Thank you very much once again for joining us. And you were telling us why exactly that particular deal, why you failed to broker a deal between the doctors and the government.
I did say it was, I didn't fail. It's unfortunate that there were some other things beyond our control that are not invited in industrial relations arbitration. What happened after the court had assigned me the responsibilities of mediating together with the Kenya National Commission of Human Rights, we embarked on the exercise immediately with 3 experts from court, including my deputy. But the problem has not been because we were unable to arbitrate. The problem has been that we noticed in the course of negotiations that there was an infighting within the Ministry of Labor, where the person who was assigned to lead the negotiations was the Principal Secretary, Mr. Nicholas Muraguri. But he technically and cleverly avoided because of the infights between him and the Cabinet Secretary, Cleopas Mailu. And it was not easy for us to be able to make a mark because whatever we tried to achieve, he could separately talk to the leadership of the union, and they changed their mind immediately. So this is an internal matter. It is not a question of CBA because according to our enormous industrial relations machinery, you cannot negotiate with the employer under duress. First of all, you normally enter into a return to work formula, of which we had achieved. Immediately, I was engaged in this exercise. I spoke to the government through Joseph Kinyua, who is the chief of staff at the State House. And I told him to ask His Excellency the President that I cannot negotiate with doctors without something in hand on top of what the government had offered them, and the President himself had offered them about 40%. So on top of that, the President and the Cabinet Secretary, they gave me a mandate of, they gave me, I should not say a real mandate, they gave me another 500 million, which translates into an extra 10,000 per doctor on the
Right, Francis Atwoli, yes.
That goes progressively from intern getting 56,000 per month up to senior doctors getting about almost 70,000 Kenya shillings. So that is what happened. And then as we were negotiating, it was not easy to reach a compromise because normally you isolate the collective bargaining negotiations, that is CBA, with a return to work formula, of which government had already improved all allowances, and intern who is on 140 going up to 196, another 50,000 shillings extra out of 50, making it a total for an intern to get an extra 100,000, 106,000 shillings. So this is what happened. It was not a question of money or a question of what, but they were negotiating in bad faith, because negotiations are supposed to be based on trust and good faith, and then on the basis of give and take. So there was no give and take because the doctors were adamant, and the person who was supposed to lead the negotiations was absent. Though those who were there, they were flexible, and I was in charge. I told them, forget about Muraguri, forget about CS. I will be communicating to Joseph Kinyua direct, and whatever we want, we will be able to achieve. Because the government had made a position of not opening up negotiations with the doctors. The other area is that, Sister Linda, is that senior doctors were misadvising the union officials. And this is because of their own interests of running private and health care clinics and so on. And currently, since all government hospitals and clinics and dispensaries are closed, the private health providers are making a lot of money. So there are also senior doctors are trying to misadvise the leadership for their own interest and for their own benefits. And lastly, it wasn't easy to get where we are supposed to get, because in negotiations, you don't enter into negotiations with fixed mind that I must get this. I try to convince them that let us isolate those areas in the CBA that you don't agree. When I will go back to court, I will ask the court to compel the government to come on the table, and I would get a court order from the labor court, and this will compel the government to come and sit with me as a chief negotiator. And they could not listen to that. So there was a lot of intrigue and a lot of misadvising from outside the normal industrial relations machinery we know. So that was the problem, and that is why we had a breakdown. And I repeat again, it was unfortunate. It didn't warrant these officials to be put in jail on something that was negotiable and something where the government was willing to engage them through us who are chief mediators. And that is why I'm saying it was most unfortunate that it reached there. And I had warned them. I told doctors this is not good, because to be taken to jail on contempt, it is tantamount to criminal jailing. And for us, it also spoils your record as a labor leader. If you can avoid it, avoid it. And two, lastly, let me tell you, why do you rape a girl who is willing to talk to you and to negotiate, and you rape her? That is exactly what happened. It is unfortunate that this was just like raping somebody who is willing. Normally, when the employer consents to come on the table, that is the time you have been given to negotiate with the employer. And the government was responsive, and it was responding on this matter.
You have made very serious allegations against the doctors' union officials that they were colluding with a number of senior doctors so that their private businesses can thrive. How can you support this allegation?
This is an allegation that I have very credible evidence. And as a person who has been in industrial relations about 50 years doing this job, I cannot say a far-fetched thing. One, even other senior doctors had opened their own bank account for solidarity purposes to support the strike. And they were taking money there. This is evidence that can be investigated and is open for that. Two, they had a lot of connections of other areas that I cannot be able to mention on the national TV, but I can be able to disclose it to an authority which would like me to give them the inside information. And I have never said, Francis Atwoli has never said something which is not true. That is why I'm believed in. And not only me, in this country, I think we are three people that whatever we say is credible, and it has evidence, and it can be supported, and it can be proved. One of the persons that Kenyans believe in is our president, President Uhuru Kenyatta, because he's our president. Even if he's lying, we will believe him. He's the institution of our national unity. The other person that Kenyans believe in, you like it or you don't like it, is Raila Amolo Odinga. And the third person in this country that Kenyans believe in is Francis Atwoli. So I cannot give an allegation that I don't have evidence or a far-reached evidence. After all, the union, they are our affiliates. It is me who fought for registration of doctors' unions. And I know one of my son, one of the doctors is my son, who is a senior doctor. Why should I lie against them? And yesterday I criticized him as well. I said he's the one who is supposed to be advising these other young doctors promptly, but they are the ones who are supporting. So I'm not just saying for the purposes of saying, I'm saying with, because I have credible evidence. And even if you ask those who are involved in negotiations, there was no sincerity in this matter. And maybe it is lack of training to the union's leadership. And there we blame ourselves as senior labor leaders. We would have prompted these young men to very critical training at Tom Mboya Labor College and our Turin College of Labor Studies in Italy.
You got into the issue, you offered to arbitrate the issue when many people say it was too late in the day. It was just last week. Where had you been since December the 5th when the strike began?
Normally, when the strike began, I was the first person to summon these young men at the Solidarity Building at our headquarters. And as we were discussing, as I had engaged the government for this 40% they had to say they wanted to try it in their own way. And since you know very well that our affiliates, we have 44 affiliates, are full autonomous unions, and they have their own independent constitutions, different recognition agreements with their employers. We come in on invitation. This time I came in because that was on 6th was the last day when they were going to be jailed on this contempt issue. But then the Secretary General of Doctors Union, Dr. Oluga, asked me that, Francis, if it can, and I also told him, arising from what I have heard from the Senate, you people, if you are not careful, you will not be able to come out of this debacle. So what I did, I said I had to go to court on invitation, and that is why I went to court on 6th to plead with the court. And indeed, I did plead with the court, and the judge listened to me, and he said, because of you, you are senior, we are giving you 7 days to, if you can amicably get out of this thing. And that is why I'm telling you, with all this, my experience, there is something in Luo. Luo says, they have a say that says, Entiegi moro. Yeah, there is something somewhere when you are not achieving something which might not make you get your achievement outside the normal processes that are known to any other player in the same game.
Relationship between the CS and the PS for health, you say, is one of the reasons why you failed to broker a deal between the government and the doctors. What is it that you picked out from their relationship during these negotiations that you say made the negotiations flop?
One of the things why we have that credible evidence is that the appointed person to lead the government side in these negotiations was PS Nicholas Muraguri. And in writing, I have that copy of that letter which was copied to us by the CS Health, Bwana Cleopas Mailu. And he reneged. He didn't attend even one meeting. He went to Nyeri. The other thing is that as we were negotiating, he could call some of the union officials, and then they discuss. And you know, formerly before where I came from the then Kenya Post and Telecommunication Corporation. I'm a communication guy. I could understand and I can seek and get information when I'm squeezed in any way, technical information, when I'm squeezed in a corner, because I'm a bad loser, as I have said always. I don't like losing, and I wanted to know 100% on this issue. It is not Kenya government to blame, because Kenya government had made an offer on a return to work formula, and that offer was to be implemented as from January. Some of us, we negotiate CBS, we don't get 40%. We don't get such like immediately. And then on top of that, the SRC would have come with their figures in July to top up on what they would have gained as from January. As you know very well that all wage increases in public service will start as from January, from July this year. But the doctors were to get theirs as from January this year. You can see the difference. And if somebody is saying no to everything, and you know, you cannot say you want a CBA. A CBA has 44, from 26 to 44 clauses and appendices. You cannot negotiate a CBA in a week when people are on strike. And some of the stringent rules on negotiations, on principles of negotiations, you cannot put your employer under duress. You say now, where you put a knife at the throat, you say, we must give me this. When you know very well it is on give and take basis. For example, now, sister, I can tell you, if it were in the private sector, the government might do the same. They withdraw their offer. Where do you go from there? You start again negotiating afresh?
Okay, so does jailing them help anything? And quickly, where do we go from here?
From here, what they can do now, because the leaders are in, they can have an ad hoc committee, and then they approach our Minister for Labor, Sister Phyllis Kandie. She's now the most independent person who can compel all parties to come on the table and see whether they can enter into a return to work formula, because there is bad blood now between the union and the Minister of Health officials. And then if they can enter into a return to work formula, I'm 100% sure, because issue of contempt, you can still go back to court and apologize to the judge that we apologize, but here we have a document on a return to work formula. And then the jailed doctors, I know, judge in her own thinking, if there is a good lawyer who can make presentation, or even myself, if I went to court and pleaded with the court with a return to work formula in the hand, I know they will be, the jailed doctors will be released.
All right, and for the sake of our viewers watching us from all over the country, we'd just like you to give us a statement on your overall reaction on this particular latest development, the jailing of the 7 officials.
Mimi tarehe 6 mwezi huu wa pili niliingia kotini na nikaomba koti ya kwamba itupatie muda zaidi wa siku 7 ili tufanye majadiliano kati ya madaktari na waajiri wao ambayo ni Wizara ya Leba kwa niaba ya serikali, na jaji akanisikiza na akanipa masharti, akasema kwa ajili wewe ni senior labor leader katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, na kupatia hii nafasi ya siku 7 na usinilete down, nisishindwe. Na nikamwambia jaji ya kwamba mimi ninaposhindwa, mimi husikia mbaya sana, mabadi loser, sipendi kuchukua assignment ile sitafaulu. Na nilipochukua hii assignment tukiwa pamoja na watu wa Kenya National Commission of Human Rights ambao walifanya kazi mzuri sana mpaka late, mpaka usiku, hata kwa ofisi zangu walikuwa wanakuja, tulijaribu sana na nikaona hatupigi hatua. Hata nikauliza serikali ya Rais Uhuru Kenyatta kupitia kwa Chief of Staff Bwana Joseph Kinyua ya kwamba mimi nitaambia madaktari mkono mtupu namna gani warudi kazini, kwa ile kitu serikali, ile offer serikali ilikuwa imepeana, munipatie na mimi kitu fulani ambayo nitafanya madaktari warudi nayo. Basi wakaniambia kwa ajili wewe umeuliza na umekuja kwa hii kitu ya kwanza, niliuliza kwanza wanipe 30,000, wakasema hapana, hiyo ni mingi. Tukakuja 20, wakasema hiyo ni mingi. Alafu nikasema haizuri, ile 10 kwa allowance ilipeanwa na president, nipe 10 ingine. Wakakalculate wakasema it will be almost between 408 and 500,000, nusu milioni kwa kila mwezi. Hiyo watanipatia kama madaktari watakubali hiyo, na hizo allowances zingine ziwekwe kwa return to work formula, wafanyikazi warudi kazini kama majadiliano ya CBA inaendelea. Kwa ajili CBA majadiliano yake haiwezi kuisha kwa siku moja, na haiwezi kuwa inafanywa na watu wanakufa mahospitalini. Sasa nikaomba wenzangu kama senior, kama baba yao, sisi viwandani saa ingine hatupati hiyo, tunapata 12%, 20%, na ukishapata kitu weka kwa mfuko kwanza, alafu sign, wafanyikazi warudi, tuendelee na majadiliano. Na pia ile report ya Seremi ya SRC inapokuja Julai itakuja na pesa zingine ambazo zitakuwa top ya hii. Na kwa CBA pia tukifaulu upande wa monetary, zile gains ziko kule zitakuwa juu ya hii. Kwa hivyo mshahara yenu itakwenda juu mara 4 mara 5 zaidi. Sasa madaktari hawakutaka kusikia hiyo. Alafu nilipojiuliza mimi mwenyewe ni kwa nini hii na attractive offer kutoka kwa serikali na madaktari bado wamekataa, ni kitu gani kinaendelea ndani yake? Ndio nilikuja kugundua ya kwamba waziri wa afya na permanent secretary yake walikuwa hawafanyi kazi pamoja, na nikajua ya kwamba kwa ile barua yetu ya kutujulisha ni nani atakayekuwa anaongoza upande wa serikali, yule principal secretary Bwana Nicholas Muraguri ndiye alikuwa amekuwa appointed na hakuwa attend ya hawa viongozi wengine wao kuwapa hardline. Sasa ndio nikaingia kwa upelelezi wa kisayansi na upelelezi wa kujua mambo ya communication, ndio nikapata yeye ndio kikwazo kikubwa kabisa. Ingawa nilisikia madaktari wanasema ya kwamba Bwana Cleopas Maile aende nyumbani, wangelijua vile mimi navyojua wangelikuwa wanasema Muraguri aende nyumbani. Sasa hiyo nikajua hiyo. Jambo lingine la pili ambalo nilikuja kugundua ilikuwa ni kigwaso kubwa ni wale senior doctors wengine ambao wana run their own private hospitals, wale wana run their own private health institutions, wale ambao wana hospitali zao pia walichangia pakubwa. Hawa saa ile majadiliano inaendelea, wanaongea na hawa madaktari kwa harden, na hii ni kwa ajili ya kwamba kliniki zao maybe sipate wateja na mambo kama hiyo wakati hospitali ya serikali imefungwa. Mimi nasema hivyo kwa ajili mimi nimefanya labor movement katika Afrika kuwa responsible, na mimi ni mnenaji wa vyama vya wafanyikazi katika bara la Afrika. Dunia mzima mimi ni namba 2 na sifai kusema uongo. Ni hata kama wewe katika hao senior doctors, iko kijana yangu ile nilisaisa senior doctor Professor Atwoli, na nimemwambia hawa ndio moja grupu ya wale wana misadvise doctors. Kwa hivyo siwezi kuficha njia muhafaka ambayo ya kuenda mbele kwa ajili mimi nataka kitu fulani. Ukweli ni lazima usemwe, na ukweli ni Mwenyezi Mungu, na anaisimama na ukweli Mungu anampenda. Jambo lingine la tatu ambalo linafanya hii majadiliano kuwa hatungelifikia ufikiano kando na masenior doctors ambao hata wamefungua bank account yao in the name of solidarity ya hii mgomo kuendelea na kupeleka pesa zao huko kusustain the leadership. It is not bad to do that, but let it be done in a very transparent manner ambayo iko kwa gazeti, kila mtu anajua. Jambo lingine ambalo ni la muhimu ni jambo la wale watu ambao hawako ndani ya mambo ya hii mgomo, ama wale hawahusiki katika mambo ya industrial relations practice, kujifanya wanaelewa na kuongea na madaktari vile watakavyowasaidia, na huko anawamislead. Hiyo ndio kitu ambayo imefanya haya majadiliano kuwa magumu. Kwa ajili majadiliano yoyote inatakikana watu waaminiane, na watu wafanye kwa kuaminiana, na pia pili watu wafanye kwa njia ya kuchukua na kupeana. Ukikosa hii unachukua hii, na kwa CBA mkikosana kwa hii clause mnaitangaza inakuwa dispute. Hiyo dispute mta-isolate, mtarudi kotini, na kotini inaweza kuarbitrate. Amkui tu ngumu namna hivyo mpaka mwisho unasema tusipopata hii. Usipopata hiyo the